Welcome, everybody, to our Peace Globe Zoom workshop. So happy to see all of you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope spring is reaching some of you. It is snowing outside here in Colorado, but it won't stick. We're past that. Um, so I always wait for 2 minutes because a lot of people join right at the top of the hour. So I'm just going to babble at you for 2 minutes. It's great to see you all. Welcome. In case you didn't get the supply list, Lori, is that in the chat now? We have a link. The first link is to the supply list.
It's in the chat now.
Yeah. Okay. And Lori is here helping me with tech. So if I refer to Lori, that's why. Thank you, Lori. So type in the chat where you're attending from. And you could also type what kind of paper you're going to make your peace globe with. I will talk a little bit about paper when we get to making it. I'm going to spend the first 10 to 15 minutes just talking about the paper year. And then we'll turn over and make the project. So I'm just waiting till 2 minutes after. Hi from San Francisco, Flemington, New Jersey, Milwaukee, Washington, Connecticut, Cleveland, Ohio. I see origami paper, various text papers. Oh, it's going fast. Hello from the Big Island. Hi from Berkeley, Huntington Beach, Washington, Paulsboro, Hubbardsville, New York, Rome, Italy. Yay! Washington State, Newton, Connecticut, or Newtown, Connecticut. So again, I'm going to get started, but I just ask that you type where you're from in the chat and what paper you're using today. And I'm going to talk for 10 to 15 minutes about the paper year program. If you have any questions at all, just type them in the chat and I will answer those after my little presentation. I'm going to show you slides. And the presentation is, some of you come every time. It's similar, but obviously I talk about more recent projects. So it's different for all of you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Again, if you have any questions as I'm going along, just type them in the chat. Okay. So just a little bit about me in case you don't know me. I'm Helen Hiebert, and I run a papermaking studio high up in Colorado's Rocky Mountains near Vail and Beaver Creek ski resorts in a tiny hamlet called Red Cliff. I drive 20 miles up into the mountains to my studio because I live in a town called Edwards. And my studio is underneath this bridge to the left, and this is the infamous Green Bridge. I hold 2 papermaking master classes each summer for those who want to take a deep dive into papermaking, and an annual retreat in my studio every August. I rent the gym in the old schoolhouse, which is where my studio is. So on the right here, you see the gymnasium, and everybody has a setup for working. And then we also go down to my studio and make paper. This year, I'm hosting my inaugural paper weaving retreat in Taos, New Mexico, July 20th through 26th. And there's one spot available if anybody's interested. The link is in the chat. I also write how-to books, and on the left is my most recent book, The Art of Papercraft, which features 40 different projects that can be made with a single sheet of paper. And I'm delighted. I've just started releasing the cover of my next book, which is called Weaving with Paper. And it's based on this class I've taught for many years called Weave Through Winter, which has a daily practice component. And this book will be out in November. So now to the paper year. We're in the 5th paper year, which I started in January of 2021. This slide shows part of the paper year library, which is a clickable guide into each and every project we've created over the years. You gain immediate access to this library, the entire library of more than 50 projects when you become a member of the paper year. Members explore a new technique and project every month. The paper year is broken into quarters. This slide shows the current quarter, which is just ending. The new quarter starts on the first Monday of the month, so that's next Monday. Even though today is April 1st, we start on the first Monday of the month. So we're just wrapping up the first quarter, and every 3 months I design 2 projects, and I invite a guest artist to design a third project. In addition to gaining skills for working with paper, members enjoy being part of a generous, supportive, friendly paper community. In January, we created a woven paper lantern. I create a video and PDF instructions every month, which paper year members gain access to in the online classroom. And then participants create their unique variations, choosing their own papers and adapting the structure to fit their ideas and concepts. Members create the projects and share images of their work in an online classroom. This is a private community on a user-friendly teaching platform called Rizuku. And it is so inspiring for me and participants alike to see what others are creating. We learn about papers we don't know about, we get ideas for variations on the projects, and we are inspired. We explored this unique fold called Goron's Wave in February. As I said, I have a guest artist design a project every quarter, and in February, our guest was Madonna Yoder, who runs Gathering Folds. She showed us how to create a sequence of folds in a single sheet of paper that leads to surprising 3-dimensional forms. And we're exploring slot books this month. This is a unique, non-adhesive binding that involves cutting slots and slipping tabbed sheets into them, and the variations are endless. Each quarter, we also have a surface design workshop, which is a 2-hour live online workshop. Our most recent workshop was with Karen Krieger, who introduced us to her method of stitching on paper. All Zoom events are recorded and posted for those who cannot attend live. That includes today. You're here, obviously, but if you have to leave early or something, this event is being recorded, and I will send you the link. All In Plan members meet on Zoom twice a month. We often have a special guest at our monthly Zoom meeting, which will either be a guest artist, a paper supplier. Stephanie Hare of Share Studios was our most recent supplier. She makes lovely handmade sheets, as well as molds and decals for those who are interested in making their own paper. We also have 2-hour monthly open studio Zoom sessions where members can carve out time to complete the monthly project, spend time getting to know each other, and share paper tips, resources, and talk about current paper-related events. There are 2 ways to join the paper year. All of this is outlined on the registration page, along with a video about the paper year, and there's a link in the chat to that. But in brief, PDF subscribers will receive just that, a PDF with instructions for the monthly project. All In subscribers receive the PDF, video instructions, and the monthly Zoom meetings, which I outlined. At this time of year, you can join and pay by the month. And I do offer an annual payment plan in January, and you can switch to that when the time comes. And please note that this is a subscription membership, so you will be billed annually, automatically each month, but you can cancel at any time. And if you do cancel your membership, you lose access to the paper year library. Registration is open now through April 10th. So here's a peek at what we're doing during the second quarter of 2025. We start next Monday, April 7th, and we're making these swirling flowers in April. I can't see what kinds of paper members choose. I used some old maps. This interlocking cylinder features a paper weaving style that I found in a book written in 1895 called Varied Occupations in Weaving. And of course, if you know me, I had to turn this into a cylinder and it could be illuminated and become a lantern. In June, we'll be exploring the jitterbug with guest artist Kelly Anderson. This structure can move. That's why it's called the jitterbug. If you grab those outer cubes and twist them, the entire form changes shape. And our surface design demonstration in the second quarter will be with Madge Evers, who will teach us her method of cyanotype printing. I met Madge through my publisher, and she has a book coming out about how to make cyanotypes soon. We're a friendly bunch, and the paper year is a welcoming community for all. We are a diverse group in how we come to paper. We have different lifestyles. We are crafters and working artists. Some of us juggle parenting, others juggle full-time jobs. And this amazing material, paper, is what ties us together. That's the paper year in a nutshell. Please visit the link that's in the chat to watch my video trailer, read more, and join us. Okay, and if anybody has any questions about the paper year, I can answer those. Did you see any, Lori?
No, I'm not seeing any yet.
Okay. One common question I get, which is what happens when I quit the paper year? And this is a subscription-based program, so if you decide to quit, you do lose access to the videos. Now, if you're a PDF member, you can always download those. If you're an all-in member, you can always download the PDF, all the PDFs from the beginning of time and save those on your computer. I recommend you do that as you go every month. Just download those and then you have them. Okay.
I'm sorry, this is
Yes.
Deborah. I was
Hi.
going to ask, hi, how do we find out exactly what plan we have and when we need to renew?
You can find that in the Rizuku platform. If you click on your picture at the top right corner,
Okay.
it should have, I think it's called account, and you can look for that information.
Okay.
And you can, it automatically renews. So however you signed up, it's going to automatically renew. And if you signed up for annual plan, it's only once a year. So that's a little bit hard to remember. But you'll be able to see what date you signed up on, when it will renew. And I do send reminders about that.
Good.
At least 2 reminders before it's going to renew so that you can opt out if you want to.
Thank you. That helps.
And just email me if you can't find it. Okay, anybody else? Okay, then let's, we're going to switch over to my hands. And I have all my stuff here, but first I did a little research about the peace symbol and found some really interesting information. So the peace sign, first of all, you know this sign? Holding up your fingers. It's not American Sign Language. That's not the sign for peace. This originated as a way to show victory during World War II. And President Nixon made that famous. And he was a pro-war president in the 60s and 70s, but anti-war activists at the same time co-opted the V to identify themselves as peace seekers. And so that's what the symbol means mostly today, right? You think of that as peace. So the peace symbol, so this globe that we're going to make today, was inspired by the naval semaphore code. I'm going to show you this. There's a link in the chat too, if you're interested in this history, where I found this. This was inspired by naval semaphore code. So these are semaphore, and the code was employed by seafarers who use flags held in different positions to communicate across distances, like between 2 ships. And the semaphore positions for the letters N, and where the flagger stands with their arms in an inverted V, and D, where the flagger stands with one arm straight up above their head and the other straight down. When combined, they form this symbol. So you might be wondering, what do N and D have to do with the peace symbol? Well, they stand for nuclear disarmament, the movement that emerged after World War II. This call for disarming of nuclear weapons around the world. People argued that peace amongst nations could never be achieved while even one of them harbored these weapons of mass destruction. And so nuclear disarmament, ND, gave us the peace symbol. And one more fun fact, the designer behind the symbol is a British man named Gerald Holton. He decided never to copyright his design so that anyone could use it free of licensing restraints. Thanks to him, the peace symbol will always stand as a free and accessible symbol of peace to whoever wants to use it. So now let's turn that symbol into a three-dimensional object. Okay, so you should have, this is very flexible. I love flexibility in the paper year. So I provide instructions and then I encourage people to use different papers, try out different ways, develop a new method. So I asked you to bring 5 sheets of paper. And I mentioned that I'm using this taunt origami paper, which is, I like it because it comes in 100 different colors in one pack. And it's also a little bit heavier than normal origami paper. It's got a nice little texture as well. I'm not sure you can see that. But see all the colors? It's 100 unique colors in this pack. I've combined a few, so there might be some duplicates, but and so there's a link in the chat if you want to get some of that paper. And then this one, I'm going to show some variations at the end, but I made this one just with magazine pages, or actually a catalog. So I'll show that at the end. We are going to make this version. And so so I've got my 5 sheets here. And we need a needle and thread. That'll be at the end. A stapler, a compass, or I mentioned just bringing something round that you can trace that's about 4 inches. This is a little bigger, this tape. And a ruler, X-Acto knife, and a pencil, and an awl. I'm going to punch 1 hole. So I'm going to clear a few things out and we'll get started. Any questions about the supplies? Not seeing any. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is fold these sheets of paper in half. And so I'm going to just fold them all at the same time. You could fold them and nest them. I think I mentioned a bone folder too. And I know I went to grab mine this morning, but I got distracted. Does that ever happen to you? And I didn't get it. So just gonna fold those all in half. And then I'm gonna open that up. And I'm gonna put 2 staples. So your stapler needs to reach. I thought I tested this yesterday. I don't have the stapler long enough. Okay, wait, this one. Sorry. There we go. Also not quite. Okay, that's funny. I tested it on my one that was already cut out. So we're going to make a circle that's 4 inches, and this is 6 inches. So if you're in the same situation that I am, I just need to cut off less than an inch, but that's going to be cut again anyways. And I like to work square at first. I don't want my circle to be the first thing. So I'm going to cut off about a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to be stapling. And I only need to cut it from one side because I'm going to be stapling with this open. Okay. Now I'm going to put 2 staples, and I want those to be to not go outside of this 4 inches. So I'm going to eyeball here. Doesn't really matter where on your paper you cut this, but I'll just I'm going to make a mark, and I'm do this in pen. You don't need to do this in pen. This is just so you can see. So about an inch up and down, 2.5 centimeters if you're metric, so that I know that's where my circle's going to be. And I want my 2 staples inside of that, anywhere inside of that. So I'm just joining, connecting. Yes.
Helen, there's one comment in the chat. Sarah is saying that her paper is one-sided, color on only one side. So in terms of choosing papers, do you want
Yeah.
to comment on that?
It doesn't matter. I think you're making a model now, and then, you know, the next one you make, you'll be more informed. You're going to see the front and the back of this if you hang it. So my paper is the same color on both sides. This other one is a magazine paper. So you'll just see the fluttering of the white and the color. So I might just stack them all the same way. So you try to hit the center line. Your stapler doesn't have any staples, Janet. Bummer. You can stitch this also. So if you're quick and on your feet, poke a couple of holes and just stitch this together because you have the needle and thread. I would do that before you start getting circles. It's going to start being way more floppy. So that's why we're stapling these together first. Now you see, I missed the center a little bit here. That's okay. But ideally you get right on that center fold. Okay, and now I'm going to fold this. It's good to have this fold going in both directions. I want to fold it now. I'm training it to unfold into the globe form, but I want to see my staples when I draw my circle. So, yep.
There's a question about how far down are the staples?
Yeah, well, that's why I marked 1 inch here and 1 inch here from the top and the bottom, and then just put 2 staples in between. It doesn't matter exactly where they are. So we're going to cut out our circle, and we want those staples to work holding this together. And one is kind of near the top and one is kind of near the bottom, but I have them about a 1/2 inch down. I am going to poke a hole to hang this. So that's something to think about, but it's pretty flexible. Okay. So any other questions?
I think that's it.
All right. I'm going to move on then. So now my paper is 6 inches. Not sure that yours is, but I just want to make a mark in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to mark 3 inches. I've got lots of extra space, top and bottom, so you could eyeball the center. And then I'm going to take my compass. And I'm going to set that at 2 inches. So from 0 to 2 inches. Again, this is approximate is okay. So this will draw a 4-inch diameter circle. Now, if you are tracing something instead, I want to talk about that before I use my compass. So this is 3 inches in diameter, and then this is 4.5, a little more than 4. I would use the outside. We don't want to work too teeny. If you're using a shape, I think you might want to open this up and draw your shape. Let's see, how are you going to do that? It's a little trickier because you want to measure the outside dimension and put a little tick mark, because when this is folded, you want it to make a nice circle. So like this, you want it to be a circle when it's in this position, and then we're going to unfold it. Maybe it doesn't even matter. So if you were off, you know, your circle would be lopsided. That's all I'm trying to say. So I hope that makes sense. And then I'm going to start at this center point with my compass. And actually, I am going to open it up. So open it up, and you want to be right on the line. But you don't need to draw the full circle. Just draw half of the circle. And this is a line we will cut away and or erase. And boy, I'm going to beef it up with my pen because it looks a little light for you to see. Again, you don't need to do this. My pen doesn't want to draw. It's not wanting to draw on top of that graphite. Okay, so we've got a half circle on one side. Okay. I'm just looking to see how many of you, looks like you have done this. Oh, we got a nice turnout. Thanks everybody for coming. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to draw a second circle that is at least a 1/4 inch, which is maybe 7 millimeters smaller. So, you know, a compass works, it is, you have to half everything because of the way you're drawing only diameter versus radius. Boy, I'm not very good at all that language. So I'm going to set my compass to 1/8 smaller. And I'm going to double check. No, it does have to be 1/4. Sorry. So to 1 3/4. Don't go any larger than that because you don't want to have, it's hard to cut a circle already, and you don't want to have too skinny of a circle. So here's where we're going. This is the width right here that we're defining right now. And so I'm going to put my compass point on the same place, and I'm going to draw the entire circle. We won't need all of it, but I'm just going to draw it. And then, so let me know if you have any questions. I'll give you a couple minutes to do
So
that.
Sally posted, you having problems is worth a lot more than everything going smoothly. You know, you know, we're going to run into these issues when we try to make another one later. So true.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, you have to do something more than once. I made more than one of these, and even maybe it doesn't look like it, but I have because I showed you two, right? Okay, so now, how are we doing? Let's see, Lori, let's do a little reaction.
Okay, to react, on the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a button, a little heart emoji that says react. And when you click on that, The one that you want to use is the one that says raise hand with the open palm, not the thumbs up or the clapping hands or any of those, because those disappear. It's the raised hand that gives us a count. And
So if you're done, raise your hand, click the raise
Yeah.
your hand reaction.
yeah,
Okay, awesome. Lots of people. Okay. And we're doing great on time, which is good. So I'm going to just wait. If you're just watching, go ahead and raise your hand too. I know some people come to these and just watch. I'm going to wait for just a
We're
few
very-
more till we're about.
yeah, we're very close. There were a couple of thumbs ups
Okay.
on
Okay.
away. So I'm going to say we're at 50% now.
Okay.
And the other thing is, if you're not actually making it, you're just watching, always raise your hand so we can factor that in as well.
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, I think you can still get compasses at like probably the grocery store. Hopefully kids still use these in school. It's a simpler version than this, but I didn't talk about that. This is from an art store. Um, and drafting, people use compasses in drafting. So, okay, so now we're going to add in our a vertical line. And I want to make a point here that look, this is wider. This is 1/2 inch. So we're only working on half of our sheet, just so we don't have to like cut too many things. We're just going to be cutting on one side and tracing and keep going. So this is a 1/2 inch. It's not a 1/4 inch total. So I am going to I love using a see-through ruler for this. And I know I didn't tell you that, but I just like to show tools. So if you have a ruler, you're just gonna make a mark at a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch and connect those two lines. And but I can see my fold, and I got this set. Oh, I lost my headphone, sorry. I'm setting that to a 1/4 inch, and I'm gonna draw that line. So I'll draw it between the circles. And then we're almost done drawing. We'll move to cutting next. Oh, we have to draw this piece. And I have a certain way to do it. A lot of times in the paper year, I do provide a template, but I thought both for time, we have plenty of time today, I think. And just some other skills where I didn't provide a template for this.
Helen, there is a
Yes.
question. If you don't have a compass, what's the best way to make the inner circle?
Oh, good question. You're gonna have to just draw it. So if you have another item that could fit in there, but that's hard to place. So you're just carefully go around. This is um, you know, piece isn't cut into one shape or size, and our globes are not going to all look exactly the same. So I would just go slowly and deliberately and draw that inside circle. Okay. So then now we're going to put in that other piece and we're going to come down. I am going to measure from my center mark a 1/4 inch down, put another mark on my center line. And this is where you get to choice how far out you want to go. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna put my pen on that center line, but I only need to cut out here. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball that and see. I'll measure it once I decide and tell you what I'm doing. I'm gonna go here. Which is, it's about 1.5 inches from the center line to that point. So you see where I am? I'll draw this. Yeah, you don't need to be drawing all this, but that's 1.5 inches. Which is just under 4 centimeters. Now, by the way, this piece that you've drawn all over, you could just remove that from your globe rather than erasing later. So that's just another fun fact. Now I'm going to take and draw, so I'm going above to draw this second line. So don't go below, that's going to make that little window too small. So see, it's a little different than what I did on my other one. It's still going to look like the peace symbol. Oh, Chris made a really good comment about if you had to draw that circle inside, just to put some tick marks at 1/4 inch every so often to help you draw the circle. Thanks, Chris. Great idea. And Kathleen had a similar suggestion. Measure and place dots 1/4 inch around the outer circle and then connect the dots. Thank you. See, members of the paper year have ideas that I don't think of. So it's like a great pool of brains. Okay. Okay, so now what are we going to cut away? I think you see that, but sometimes it's helpful to give yourself a visual. So I'm going to cut this out and this. So I don't want to accidentally cut a wrong line. So if you drew in pencil, which I cannot go and undo this, but you could erase. I'll put a little X. You don't want to cut there. You don't want to cut here. You don't want to cut here. And you don't want to cut here. So those are the places that need to hold together. And I'll go through, we'll do this all together. So I'm going to cut out this shape. I'm going to cut out this shape. And then I'm going to cut the entire circle, but that's at the very end. So now we're cutting through a bunch of layers. You can leave this open. Ultimately, you will close it because you're going to use some of your cuts as patterns as you go through the layers. And I want to say, if you are scared about cutting with a knife, maybe do this later because knives are very sharp and this is tedious. And I would hate for you to cut yourself. So we're just going to take our time here and cut. So we've got about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to start here. I like to be able to see where I'm cutting so I can see the top and the bottom of where I need to cut. So just watch me for a minute. I am going to cut, I'm going to do, okay, I can feel that I'm hitting the cutting mat. Just 2 swipes cut through. Now cutting a circle, you keep your hand out of the way so you don't accidentally cut it. And you're just going to go slow and deliberate. Sometimes I stop and turn my paper. And I'm stopping right here. Now I didn't cut all the way through. I'm going to go back one more time. Sometimes it's hard to get right where you were and you get, yeah, sorry, my ears are slippery today. You get a little edge where your paper isn't cut perfectly. And then I'm going to use my ruler on this straight piece. And there I've got my first shape cut out. And then I'll do this next shape. And then just because some of you are going to be faster, I am going to fold this over. And what I'll do, because that cut well, is I'm going to take my pencil and just draw those shapes onto here, and I'll cut through this stack of layers separately. So depending on how many layers and how thick your paper is, there are different ways to approach this. But basically you're just tracing as you go and keep cutting. And if they don't line up perfectly, that's okay too, because this is going to be fanned out into that globe. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm going to keep working here. Ruth mentioned that you can use string. You can. I've done that for like a compass. I've done that for large circles. Yeah, it's a little tricky because you have to lock your point into place and then draw the circle, but you can do that. You can put something like a pin or a pencil and then tie a string on and to another pencil and go around. So again, I do not cut the outer circle until the very end. So I am going to trace my two shapes and cut those in the other half first. This one, I'm going to cut all my straight lines first. We'll do a little show and tell at the end. And if you don't finish, I'd love for you to post on Instagram and tag me, and tag the paper year. You can fill the internet with peace. One other thing. So I did one swipe here and I can remove some pieces and then draw again if I need to. So that's another thing I do sometimes. I'm just working my way down. Actually, one swipe was enough. I made one with a magazine paper or a catalog, and which was, I don't know, 30 or 40 pages. So that one took several passes. Here's the little, what I was talking about. Sometimes you're going to have little bits of paper because your second cut wasn't perfectly accurate. Now I'm going to keep going because now I thought we had all this time, but wow, it's vanishing. So now I'm going to cut my outer circle and I am going to open this up. It just feels a little safer than having this folded and cutting half. But I will fold it again to trace that outer circle. You see, I move my paper so that it's comfortable to cut. And then now I've got this extra paper. I'm just going to cut it off. I'm going to show you some variations. You don't have to cut that off. And now I'm going to fold this and I'm going to trace that circle. I'll cut this other side. Now that outer circle could be cut with scissors. It's a little, I don't know, if you're good at cutting circles with scissors, I would find it less accurate personally, but some people might not. Gonna look at all of you, see. I'm guessing you're all working away, and so I'm gonna give you 2 more minutes, and if we don't finish, that's okay. I see a couple raised hands. Yeah, you can raise your hand again if you are done. Okay, great. A lot of you are. So you do want to thread your needle, and you don't need to tie a knot at the end. So if you're done, you can get that ready. And then we'll need an awl just to pierce a hole. And if you are done, you can kind of fold that center fold back and forth and train your pieces. We're still gonna have to poke that hole, but you can kind of start making this into the globe form. Okay, 1 more minute and I'm gonna move on. So if you're not done, just you want to watch me when I give that, when I say I'm starting.
And Mary says, achieving peace can be challenging. And I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and lower everyone's hands now, because when we get to the sharing portion, you'll want to raise your hand anew if you want to share yours.
Yes, good point, Mary. Achieving peace can be challenging, and I hope that you're achieving peace in this workshop and you aren't frustrated. So, okay, we're going to move on now. So I'm just going to take my awl. I have this, we talk about different supplies in the paper year too. I have this beautiful awl made by Shanna Leno, and she was actually a guest supplier for the paper year and told us about all of her wonderful bookbinding and paper tools. And I am just going to put the hole needs to be on the center fold. And I'm just going to put it right here, in line with that circle. And if you have a piece of cardboard or something underneath that helps poke through, it'll go right into that. But I'll just poke that. And then I'll take my needle and thread. Your hole has to be big enough for the needle to be able to go through. I've got a pretty wide needle, so I made a nice big hole. And then what I was talking about earlier, you could just stitch up here instead of staples. Staples is just super simple. So stitching, you could poke holes with an awl and stitch up that. Again, I would have done that at the same time when I stapled. And then you could have left your string long to make the hanger. So I'm just going to go into that hole. I'm going to take my needle off. I just needed it to get in there. And then there's many ways to do this, but I like to line up my two ends so they're even. And you can cut those too, though. So I'm going to just pull that so they're even. I'm going to tie a knot right around the top of my globe. And I'm going to double that knot. I usually do right over left, left over right. It doesn't really matter. It's just securing that at the top. And then I go to the end and I'm going to tie another knot at the top through both. So I have both of them, both of the threads. I'm going to tie a knot and then I'll trim the end, maybe a 1/2 inch. You don't want it to be too close so that the knot might unravel. And now you've got a hanger. So you can hang your globe. And then again, you can spend a little time making this 3D. Oh, I meant to tear this off. So, this has got a lot of pen marks on it. So I can just tear that off now. That was kind of my pattern. And so I won't have all those pen marks on my globe. And again, I had you bring 5 sheets of paper because it's hard for me to know how thick your paper is going to be. You could do more sheets so that your globe has more action. So just before we do show and tell, I want to show you a couple of variations. So again, I'd spend a few minutes bringing this into the round, and then you can hang this wherever you want to. And I hope some of you will post pictures of your peace globe in situ. So another idea, and some of you saw this in my promotion for this, is to make it into a card. So I had a longer stapler. I have a really long stapler for stapling pamphlets. And so as I said, I use a catalog. So here's a catalog. You still probably get catalogs in the mail, right? And so I just looked at where the staples were. There's already 3 staples. So I just made a circle around 2 of them. And obviously it's more pages, but they're not very thick. And so it was a little more tedious, but I was able to cut all those pages and create. Oh, I actually only used 1 staple. Look, I've handled it so much it's starting to become loose. So I could just go in and put 2 more staples. And on this one, I cut out the card. So I stapled into the card and then have the globe. So I didn't cut the globe out. It's part of the card. And then, but you could also not cut the shape of the peace symbol out, and you could have just another. I don't have a nice fun colored paper, but you would see the background of the paper behind. And either one of these is sendable, right? You could mail someone this or a card. So that is what I wanted to share. And Lisa's here, and she designs clothing for Artful Home. So yes, Her clothing is in here. And yeah, I purchased clothing from this is a great company, artists designing clothing and shoes and housewares, all kinds of things. So, all right. So I'd love to see what you have, even if you're not done. So if you want to raise your hand, if you'd like to share, we do this at the end of each of these Zooms. If anybody has any last questions about the paper year, I would love to hear those. Okay, Rebecca, thank you for your comment. Okay, so Lori's going to facilitate this.
So Liz is up.
Oh, look at your papers. Beautiful.
Hers is big.
Yeah, you made a bigger one, and I like the
No,
chunkiness.
it's
It's
4
the same
inches.
size? Well, it looks big.
Oh,
Okay.
I thought it was
Yeah,
three.
that's funny. It's really an optical illusion. There you go.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. Next is Sarana, and when it's going to be your turn next, I'm going to send you an ask to unmute message, so that's the way you'll know that you're coming up.
Oh, beautiful, Sarana. I love that little glimmer on your paper. Oh, and you no, is it staples? It is staples. It almost looks like stitches. Yeah. Alternating blue and yellow. Fun. Thank you.
Okay, and Rebecca.
Okay. Are you unmuted? You can talk about what you said, your junk journals.
There's
They're all about circles.
there's an Etsy seller that sells printables, and this is Phenology. And there are a ton of these circles, so I'm like, this will be perfect for this. And
Oh,
make it into
yes.
like the earth, right?
Yes, right. That's the idea. Peace globe. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
cut
the
these out.
earth.
These were a little bigger than you had said, so
Yeah,
I'll make some
that
of
doesn't
these.
matter.
These are cool.
Yeah, it could be any size. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Melita.
I'm glad you got here,
This
Melita.
is- yeah,
You
I
got
had
the
to use a
link.
different email.
Okay.
I used the rock paper
Oh,
that
yeah.
from well, a couple of years ago or last year. I just ordered some more. I just thought that would be really cool to put up in the light.
Yes. Yeah, we talk about different papers all the time in the paper year, and rock paper is one. We had she came visited us, and it's got a nice translucency and sheen. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and that can be hung outside for a little while. Not
It's
forever.
waterproof,
Mine
water
mine
resistant.
Yeah, mine something that I hung out disintegrated, but it's fine.
Hmm.
Deborah next.
Hello.
Hi.
Just got it to stand up on its own.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that you did all greens for the earth. Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
Earth Day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
Earth Day is in April. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
I didn't have a compass.
Oh, you did good. Look at you. It looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the movement. So yeah, wherever you hang it, it's gonna change as people walk by, the wind blows. Thank you.
Okay. Lee. Lay.
Lee.
Lee.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Lee. Oh,
So
look
this
at
is
that. Beautiful.
Up higher.
Hold it up.
Yeah. It's a science print, blue on one side
Yeah.
and light blue with the print on the other.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And the
Thank
sun is
you.
coming in and hitting it nicely.
Yeah, it is. Yes. So these are light and wind activated. Um, Sarah said she did hers upside down. What does that symbol mean? Well, I say it looks a little bit like a tree. You can just flip it over and rehang it. Anybody else have one to share? Well, thank you for spending an hour with me. And again, if you make more or you hang these somewhere fun, I'd love to see a photo. You can email it to me or post it on Instagram and tag me. The tags are in the link, the paper year and Helen Hiebert. And thanks so much.